In our headlines on this Wednesday, July 1st, here in South Korea. Exports logged their strongest growth in almost 50 years in June to soar past the $100 billion mark for the first time. Meanwhile, the ruling Democratic Party elects 11 committee chairs, even as the main opposition People Power Party boycotts the vote. And in Venezuela, the latest official tally shows close to 2,000 people lost their lives to last week's earthquakes, as rescue workers remain committed to finding survivors. South Korea's exports broke past the $100 billion mark for the first time in June, and this reality makes the country just the fourth in the world to reach this milestone. Lee Ji-yeon has our top story.
Korea's June export hit a new all-time high, topping $100 billion for the first time. The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Resources said Wednesday that June exports surged roughly 71% from a year earlier to $102.25 billion. That makes Korea only the fourth country to record more than $100 billion in exports in a single month, after Germany, China, and the United States. Exports increased in 18 of the 20 major categories in June, with semiconductor leading the overall growth. Semiconductor exports surged roughly 200% from a year earlier to $44.8 billion. Beating the previous record set in May, monthly chip exports topped $40 billion for the first time. Strong demand for memory chips pushed up contract prices, helping fuel Korea's export surge. Experts say the key question now is whether those high prices can hold.
There's plenty of chance that the memory prices will stay high level until the end of 2026. And in that case, I think export value will stay very high throughout 2026.
The strong momentum has raised hopes that Korea's annual exports could reach $1 trillion this year, with the government expressing optimism about the target.
We see a much stronger chance of reaching the $1 trillion milestone now than we did back in May. Exports tend to gather more momentum in the second half of the year than the first, which underpins our positive outlook.
Meanwhile, imports rose 30% from a year earlier, but Korea still posted a record trade surplus of more than $30 billion in June. Still, the government warned that uncertainties remain, including chip price movements, volatility in global oil markets, and growing protectionist measures. Officials said they will work closely with key trading partners to reduce risk for Korean exporters and help remain a stable export environment. Lee Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
And South Korea's remarkable expansion in exports have prompted global financial entities to raise their 2026 growth outlooks for the country. And the Bank of Korea is also expected to follow suit. Our Kim Do-yeon explains.
Korea's economy is getting a major boost from the global AI boom, with rising demand for memory chips pushing growth forecasts higher. Some institutions now expect growth to top 4%. The Bank of Korea's current forecast is 2.6%, but that figure could be revised upward in August as exports continue to break records. The upward revisions are coming from a growing number of major financial institutions. According to Yonhap News Agency citing Bloomberg data, 11 domestic and international firms now expect Korea's economy to grow by at least 3% this year. South Korean reinsurer Korean Re issued the highest forecast at 4.1%, followed by UK-based Capital Economics at 4.0%. Global investment banks and research firms, including JP Morgan, IM Securities, and Citi, have also raised their outlooks into the mid to high 3% range. Growth above 4% would put Korea clearly ahead of current global projections. The International Monetary Fund forecasts global growth of 3.1% this year, while the World Bank expects just 2.5%. Experts say that kind of performance would have been difficult to imagine earlier in the year before the AI-led tech boom accelerated at such speed.
Fundamentally, no one predicted that AI data center construction would be this intense, or that semiconductor prices would jump 3 to 4 times compared to 2 years ago. Memory semiconductors became an immediate bottleneck, creating a severe shortage that rarely happens, meaning institutions simply could not forecast this at the start of the year.
Following an upward revision in the first quarter, GDP growth to 1.8%, Bank of Korea Governor Han Seong-sook said last month that the central bank's current 2.6% forecast is likely to be raised. Such a move would bring the BOK more in line with private sector forecasts as exports and AI-driven chip demand continue to support stronger growth. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, tempers are flaring at the parliament amid a unilateral election of 11 committee chairs by the ruling Democratic Party, as the main opposition People Power Party stood away from that vote. Our National Assembly correspondent Moon Hae-ryun reports.
The National Assembly elected 11 of its 18 standing committee chairs without opposition support on Tuesday, after talks on dividing the panels between the ruling Democratic Party and the main opposition People Power Party collapsed for good. The DP, which holds a parliamentary majority, nominated all 11 chairs alone as the PPP boycotted the vote. The biggest sticking point remained the chairmanship of the Legislation and Judiciary Committee, which reviews all bills before a final parliamentary vote, giving its chair significant influence over the legislative process. Under a long-standing convention, the post has often been held by the main opposition. The DP retained control of the committee, reinstalling full-term lawmaker Heung-min, who had served as its interim chair at the end of the Assembly's first half. It also took the chairs of several key economic committees, including the National Policy Committee and the Finance, Economy, Planning and Budget Committee. DP floor leader Han Seong-sook said the PPP had refused to compromise.
We can no longer wait for the People Power Party, which refuses to negotiate, won't submit its list of nominees, and ignores the National Assembly Act by insisting on the Legislation and Judiciary Committee.
The PPP staged protests inside the National Assembly and declared it would refuse to participate in the 11 committees that were formed, warning it could also reject the remaining 7 committee chairmanships left vacant for the opposition. PPP floor leader Chung Jung-sik accused the DP of bowing to political pressure.
This reappointment is nothing but capitulation to a royal command demanding passage of the bill to cancel the indictment.
Separately, a parliamentary committee on Tuesday adopted a confirmation report for Prime Minister nominee Han Seong-sook in a session boycotted by the PPP, clearing the way for a floor vote. With its 161 of 300 seats, the DP later confirmed Han as Prime Minister. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Accordingly, Prime Minister Han Seong-sook began her term on this Wednesday after receiving her paper of appointment from President Lee Jae-myung at the Blue House earlier in the morning. Speaking to reporters on her way to work, she pledged to streamline the administration's policy-making process and take bolder steps in AI investment. She also vowed to improve the lives of young people and small business owners. In the afternoon, Han paid her respects at the Seoul National Cemetery before chairing a meeting on AI innovation with relevant ministries. On the diplomatic front, France's ambassador for the Indo-Pacific believes this year's celebration of 140 years of diplomatic relations between Korea and France also ushers in a new chapter of broader and deeper partnership as President Lee Jae-myung prepares to visit Paris in the autumn. Our senior correspondent Oh Soo-young met with her.
As Korea broadens its diplomatic outreach, France says the two countries are finding new opportunities to deepen cooperation in strategic areas. Speaking to Arirang News on the sidelines of the Jeju Forum, France's ambassador for the Indo-Pacific said the 140-year bilateral anniversary this year is sparking ambition for a stronger partnership.
So this year we are trying to bring to the next level, which means a wider area of cooperation and deeper cooperation. Given the international context and the geopolitical area, it's very important for us to work together in developing our solidarity, in emphasizing our capacity to work together in a more sophisticated and more integrated way.
With President Lee Jae-myung expected to make a state visit to France later this year, the ambassador says key discussions are ongoing.
You will see again in September when the Korean president is coming to a state visit to Paris, that we work on very concrete things like interoperability, intelligence sharing. We talk about also, we are two countries that are very much involved into industrial and technological base, so we also share that ambition to be very, very good partners and more integrated partners.
The ambassador pointed to long-term challenges requiring closer cooperation between like-minded countries in the Indo-Pacific, where France uniquely as a European power holds territory.
I think it's also very important for us to keep on fighting for common goods, for stability, for the fight against cybercrime, organized crime, because this area we have to keep working at them. Even if we have more pressing crises, we should not forget our cooperation in areas that need long-term reflection and hard work, like climate change. We hosted last year a conference on the oceans. We know that Korea is nearly an island, so it's very much engaged in the governance of oceans. So there are plenty of subjects where we can do more and better together, and we are looking forward to provide the substance for these talks between our two leaders.
The variety of agenda topics is underpinned by France's vision of strategic autonomy to be complemented by multilateral cooperation.
So now we feel a bit less lonely because many more people understand the need to have strong and resilient sovereignty. And our experience that we want to share with our partner is the more you invest in your own strengths and the more you defend your sovereignty, the better partner you become for everybody else.
As Ho pursues its policy of pragmatic diplomacy, Paris sees growing scope to partner across security, technology and shared challenges that increasingly connect Europe and the Indo-Pacific. Oh Seong, Arirang News, Jeju.
Over in Venezuela, a toddler was rescued on Tuesday after 1 week, nearly a week that is, after the two earthquakes devastated the capital area. Our Cho Young-eun has the latest.
In a rare moment of hope, a 3-year-old boy, Kleber Moran, was pulled alive from the rubble in a hard-hit coastal state of La Guaira early Tuesday. He was the only survivor reportedly found on the 6th day of rescue operations and was taken to a hospital for treatment. The dramatic rescue came as the death toll climbed to 1,943, with more than 10,000 people injured and tens of thousands displaced.
It will be the 6th day since the two earthquakes struck, and all national and international relief teams are actively engaged in rescue efforts and action to assess and address the consequences of these earthquakes. We must continue the relentless search for survivors.
Meanwhile, humanitarian conditions continue to deteriorate, leaving survivors with little or nothing to eat. Thousands are living in tents or overcrowded emergency shelters, raising concerns over sanitation, disease, and access to basic services. UN officials warn that food shortages are worsening in La Guaira, where essential services have largely collapsed.
In La Guaira, the hardest hit state, food shortages are widespread, basic services have broken down, and connectivity has been largely severed. Community tensions are rising as access to assistance remains constrained.
The World Food Programme said more than 3,000 metric tons of food are ready in the country for the most urgent priorities. It has appealed for $50 million to provide emergency food assistance to 500,000 people over the next 3 months, adding that it could expand support to 1 million people if additional funding becomes available. On Tuesday, a 47-ton shipment of UNICEF humanitarian supplies arrived in Venezuela, carrying emergency medical kits, maternal and newborn care supplies, and disease prevention equipment. Cho Young-eun, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, in the Middle East, Iran says it will refrain from direct discussions with the U.S. until the agreements within their MOU are put into action. Now, this statement comes against the backdrop of reports that transit tolls in the Strait of Hormuz may become a reality. Our Cha Yun-kyung reports.
Iran says it will not initiate further negotiations until the conditions of the MOU signed with the U.S. are met. Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf said in an interview with Iranian state TV on Tuesday local time that differences may certainly arise during the process of ending the war. However, Tehran is pursuing dialogue continuously to fulfill commitments under the MOU. He also insisted that the announcement made by Pakistan's Prime Minister that the U.S. and Iran had finalized the main text to end the war, and U.S. President Donald Trump's social media posts about lifting a naval blockade were the major outcomes of the MOU. Ghalibaf also said that the sovereignty of the Strait of Hormuz will belong to Iran, and Iran will never compromise on its rights to the waterway. He added that exemptions from toll fees in the strait are valid only for 60 days according to the MOU. It is also reported that Tehran is selling its oil at a price 20% higher than previous levels, as the general license for selling Iranian oil is also valid for 2 months following the MOU. Meanwhile, Oman is proceeding with plans to collect service fees with Iran for vessels passing through the Strait of Hormuz, despite public objections from the U.S. It is reported that Oman recently delivered a formal proposal outlining a plan regarding service fees to the U.S. and other Western allies, explaining that it is voluntary contributions for the service, not a mandatory charge. Oman's proposal refers to arrangements in the Strait of Malacca and Singapore, where a private foundation collects voluntary contributions for safe navigation. Cha Yun-kyung, Arirang News.
Elsewhere, the U.S. Supreme Court has upheld birthright citizenship, rejecting the Trump administration's claim that children born to people who are in the U.S. briefly or illegally are not American. Our Lee Seung-jae covers this ruling.
The U.S. Supreme Court has rejected President Donald Trump's effort to end birthright citizenship for certain children born in the United States. In a 6-3 ruling on Tuesday, the court upheld lower court decisions blocking Trump's executive order that sought to deny automatic citizenship to babies born in the U.S. if neither parent was an American citizen nor a lawful permanent resident, also known as a green card holder. The decision marks the second major defeat for Trump at the Supreme Court this year, following the court's February ruling striking down his global tariff plan. At the center of the case is the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to its jurisdiction are American citizens. The Trump administration argued that the phrase "subject to the jurisdiction thereof" should exclude children born to undocumented immigrants and to parents living in the country temporarily on student or work visas. However, Chief Justice John Roberts said the court saw no reason to depart from more than a century of legal precedent. Roberts pointed to the landmark 1898 Supreme Court case, United States v. Wong Kim Ark, which established that children born on American soil are citizens regardless of their parents' nationality, with only narrow exceptions, such as children of foreign diplomats. He wrote that there was little evidence supporting what he called the administration's dramatically revisionist interpretation of the Constitution. Legal experts had warned that Trump's order could have affected the status of as many as 250,000 babies born each year and could have forced millions of families to prove the citizenship status of their children. President Trump brushed aside the defeat, saying he still hopes Congress can pass legislation containing similar provisions, though such a measure faces long odds in the current Congress. The case appeared to be particularly important to Trump. In April, he attended Supreme Court oral arguments on the issue, becoming the first sitting U.S. president ever to personally attend arguments before the nation's highest court. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
In other news now, K-drama series Teach You a Lesson has maintained its top spot on Netflix's non-English TV chart for the 4th week in a row. According to the streaming platform on this Wednesday, the series has secured over 7.3 million views, ranking within the top 10 in 75 countries, including Singapore and France. It has remained at #1 since its release last month. The drama follows a fictional government agency established to restore teachers' authority and protect Korea's academic arena from disruptive students and abusive parents. Meanwhile, members of Team Korea, including Captain Heung-min, landed at Incheon International Airport on this Wednesday after their early exit from the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Fans waiting at the airport shouted words of support, including "thank you" and "stay strong," which prompted a brief apology from Son. Son had earlier expressed regret in a social media post, acknowledging the disappointment of his fans. South Korea missed out on a place in the round of 32 after finishing third in Group A with 1 win and 2 losses. Young Korean farmers have been quick to embrace technology to streamline farming operations, and pundits assert more of them are needed in the agriculture industry. Our picture here reports from the ground.
In a rural town in Gimhae, a young man monitors his cow's health with a new data app, breaking away from traditional hands-on livestock observation.
The device analyzes individual data and sends it straight to my smartphone. It essentially allows us to monitor and manage the health and condition of each individual cow.
This farm has adopted other technology such as microbial feed incubator and a mass feed production machine. These tools automatically brew nutritional bulk manufactured feed, significantly cutting costs and labor.
As soon as I started working in the farm, I started digitizing our operations. I chose this approach to minimize losses for each individual cow.
With a foundation scholarship, this young farmer has successfully settled into the industry over 3 years. In fact, government agencies, experts, and local farmers alike are increasingly recognizing the vital importance of nurturing the next generation of farmers.
The way young people work is completely different. Our generation only knew how to feed the cattle. We didn't know anything about fermenting or cultivating microbes.
But despite efforts to encourage young farmers, recent statistics reveal a contrasting reality. While the total number of farm households marked a 20% rebound last year, a closer look reveals a critical demographic gap. The share of farm owners aged 49 and under has plummeted from 17.9% to 5.5% over the last 2 decades. With a decreasing number of young farmers, there is a growing demand for more practical solutions.
Our policies must focus on local needs, letting communities request the workforce they require, training customized talents for that demand, and ultimately helping them settle down in the region permanently.
Experts suggest providing hands-on experience and local connections to help new farmers launch their business. Beyond opening doors for more young people to enter farming, Korean agriculture needs a long-term infrastructure and practical support for it to thrive in the future. 백주희, 아리랑 뉴스, 김해.
Monsoon season has officially begun. Following Jeju Island and the southern regions yesterday, monsoon rain spreads into the Chungcheongdo provinces today. As the rain band continues to move eastward, rain is now mainly affecting Jeju Island and the southern regions. Jeollanam-do and Gyeongsang-nam-do provinces can expect another 5 to 30 millimeters through this evening, while Jeju Island could pick up an additional 5 to 40 millimeters by tonight. Meanwhile, skies will remain mostly cloudy across the central regions, and atmospheric instability could trigger scattered showers in the capital area and Gangwon-do province. So if you're heading home, don't forget your umbrella. As for temperatures, Seoul will start the day at 22 degrees Celsius, Chuncheon 19 degrees, Busan 20 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 31 degrees, Daegu 30, Jeju 26 degrees. Looking ahead, temperatures will climb back to around 30 degrees Celsius across most of the country. country, and afternoon showers are expected to pop up in many areas tomorrow. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session, so do stay with us and thank you for now.